Hello everyone, we are going to talk about self-esteem, and the following are the subtopics that lies under self-esteem. One is the origin of low self-esteem. Two is the sign of low self-esteem. Three is the sign of high self-esteem. Then four is effect of low self-esteem. Five is importance of high self-esteem. Then we've got factors that enhance low self-esteem, and then we've got factors that enhance high self-esteem, and lastly we will wind up our topic by talking about how to boost self-esteem. First and foremost, let us now describe what is self-esteem. Self-esteem is the value or worth that you attach to yourself. It involves your opinions and feelings about your looks, strength, weakness, and abilities and limitation. As a person, you've got the abilities and you've got the limitation. What are the things that are limiting you to achieve your goals, and what are the things that are limiting you not to achieve your goals? The origin of low self-esteem. We've got being consistent, put down by significant person. We've got those people who you consider significant in your life, but at the end they end up having contradiction or contradicting result of your expectation, because you expect much from somebody whom you trust, but at the end you find that this the same person who is putting you down. This one causes low self-esteem. We've got the abuse. Abuse might be physical abuse, and it might be also emotional abuse, and it might be verbal or sexually abuse. So this abuse also contribute to the low self-esteem. Being made fun of or laugh at. We've got some characters. People possess different character traits. We've got some people who will just laugh at you after they have seen that maybe you are not satisfying their expectation, and this their laughter will demoralize you and will make you to have low self-esteem. We've got something that's known as having weaknesses and failures emphasized. So instead of emphasizing your strength, you end up emphasizing your weakness, and this one demoralizes you and makes you to have low self-esteem. We've got being ignored or not being given adequate attention. We've got those people who does not have that calling. If they stand before others, they will be looked upon at, and they will lose morale, and they will take themselves as less worth people in the society. We've got also rejection and abandon. When you are in a group of people and they end up just rejecting you because of your characters and because of your, maybe let's talk about the skin color and whatever, that one also contribute to the low self-esteem. Constant failure, or we can also say low achievement. If you persist achieving low more than expected, people have got the expectation, but if you go on persisting and achieving the low expectation, achieving lowest from the expectation of the people and your own expectation, you will start degrading yourself and considering yourself as a person who has no value to the society, or even you will lose self-worth. Then we've got sign of low self-esteem. Signs of low self-esteem, we've got underperformance. Underperformance does not come in academically angle only, but it also comes at when you are employed and you find yourself you are not doing the work as is expected with the employer, or as is not expected according to the employer's expectation. You are underperforming. This one will lead to the provocation of the employer to you as the employee, which will lower your self-esteem. So if you find yourself falling into that, that bracket, that maybe you are underperforming at the work time, that one is a sign of low self-esteem, because you don't believe in yourself that you can give best out of you. We've got succumbing to peer pressure. If you are not able to make a decision by your own and you depend on the decision that are made by your friend, then know that that is sign of a low self-esteem. We've got that withdrawal tendency. When you withdraw yourself from the rest, it means that you consider yourself to be higher or lower. But at most cases, Those people who consider themselves to be lower, they always tend to withdraw themselves from the rest because they know that they will add none to the value of the rest. And then we've got negative self-image. When I talk about negative self-image, I'm talking about the mental picture that a person has towards him or herself. How do you consider yourself? That is a mental picture. Mental picture builds you. If you consider yourself to be worthy and if you consider yourself to be the greater person, that's you are now self-esteem. And if you consider yourself to be low, you will be considered to be a low self-esteem. And that one is a sign of low self-esteem. We've got violence behavior, easily engaged in violence, because now you cannot prevent your anger, you cannot control your emotion. You end up bursting into arguments and into provocation with these other people, which leads you to engage into violence behavior. That is a sign of low self-esteem. We've got sign of high self-esteem. One is cheerfulness. Cheerfulness is a sign of high self-esteem because you will feel good about yourself after you've achieved. So you need to cheer yourself up so that you can elevate that level of self-esteem. We've got the assertiveness, the value of themselves. You value yourself. You are assertive to yourself. When you are assertive to yourself, it means that you value yourself. You take yourself as a person who is unique on your own way. And then we've got sign of high self-esteem is that you are outgoing. If you are outgoing, it means that you are ready to go out and look for the opportunity. Don't wait for the opportunity to come for you, but you go out and look for the opportunity. You are outgoing. It's like you are goal-oriented. And then we've got confidence. Those people who've got high self-esteem, they are very confident. They believe in themselves and they believe that everybody who is around them or who is surrounding them is a good help to them. So if you are confident in yourself, it's very easy to achieve your goal. Then we've got another one. Those people with high self-esteem, they are good performer. I don't mean academically that you are a good performer, but I mean in everything that you engage in, you perform well and you perform best, because now you are having high self-esteem and you regard yourself as the highest, and your expectation also go high. And then we've got positive self-image. When I talk about positive self-image, I mean that this is a positive self-image and it's a mental picture that you are having value, you are worthy to the society and even to the country. You are that much of benefit to the rest. This how you take yourself, and there is a sign of high self-esteem. Let's now talk about the effect of low self-esteem. Effect of low self-esteem, it will lead to negative feelings. This may experience of shame or lawlessness. If you've got negative feeling about yourself, you will feel lowly considered by the rest, of which maybe in some cases it might not be the case, but because that's how you've developed your mind and that's how you perceive it, it will end up to be like that. Then we've got self-loathing. Will cause you to loathe your own thought. It means that you don't believe your own thought and action and have difficulty in forgiving yourself. Now you just curse yourself. This is when you loathe yourself. It means that you don't believe in yourself. You don't appreciate who you are, but of which that's not the case. You're supposed to appreciate who you are. You're supposed to appreciate the values and the virtues that you are carrying as a person. Then you've got to believing you have nothing to offer. That's an effect of low self-esteem. You believe that you've got nothing to offer, totally nothing. So you don't even interact with people because if you interact with them, you won't give them anything, and that's how you consider yourself. That's an effect of low self-esteem. And then we've got difficulty to get motivated. However much somebody might try to tell you you are important, but you take yourself with low self-esteem and you regard yourself worthless, it will be very difficult for you now to feel motivated and to be personal, as in to personalize that motivation and to encourage you to move into the next step. We've got the lowered resiliency. Make one weak to handle temporary downfall, thinking that they are undoable. If you consider a situation in your life undoable, it means that you've got a low self-esteem, and of which that's not supposed to be the case. We've got to believing that you are powerless. and you cannot change anything around you. That's just an effect of low self-esteem. You're supposed to believe that you are powerful and you are able to change anything that is surrounding you, but positively. Then we've got importance of high self-esteem. Importance of high self-esteem, it gives one self-confidence. If you've got high self-esteem, you will have that high self-confidence. You will have confidence in yourself, and you will believe that you are ready to conquer, and you are born to conquer, and you are born a conqueror, and you are born a hero. That's how those people who have high self-esteem consider themselves. And then it enables one to be assertive. You be assertive because you've got high self-esteem. Then another one, it enables one to set goals and work towards achieving them. Once you have high self-esteem, you will consider your goals. You will sit down and calculate and draft your goals so that you can look on the ways that will escalate you to achieving your goals. And then we've got enabling one to achieve success in every activity he engages in, because he has got high self-esteem. Now he will feel motivated every now and then because of having that sense of high self-esteem. Factors that enhance low self-esteem: unhealthy family background. By the way, no one has ever chosen where to be born, but because you found yourself in the family that you were born, you have no decision to choose where to go. But what the decision that you have at your hand is to change the background where you were born. Remember that the life you are living is the life of your parents, and now as a person you're supposed to start living your own life. That's why unhealthy family background is a motivating factor of low self-esteem. We've got inability to deal with conflict. You feel ability when you are inability to feel, to handle a conflict that is maybe facing you. That is a factor that enhances low self-esteem. At the end, you will end up now considering yourself like you don't have that power, and you are not able to solve any other problem, and you cannot even solve any other conflict that might come across your way. Then you will start now feeling rejection. Rejection is another point. You will start now feeling rejection, like maybe you consider yourself, well, I'm low self-esteem, and these people is like they don't regard me as very important, and now they just reject me. And that's how you perceive yourself, and at the end you will you will start acting directly proportional to your thoughts. And we've got underperformer. This enhances low self-esteem. When you happen to underperform at your duties every now and then, it will lead to low self-esteem. We've got being physical and mentally challenged. When you've got physical and mentally challenged, yes, some people might end up talking negative about you, and this one will demoralize you. We've got factors that enhance high self-esteem. Positive self-image. The key to have high self-esteem is positive self-image. Remember that I've said earlier that positive self-image, this is a positive mental picture that you are having about yourself. This is how your values are, how your virtues are, and how you consider yourself as comparing to those people who are close to you. We've got self-awareness. If you are aware of yourself, of course, this is a factor that will enhance high self-esteem, because you're aware of yourself and you know what you want and you know what drives you in life. Of course, that's a sign of high self-esteem. And then we've got self-acceptance. Don't worry how you are looking like, or what people are talking, or what are they saying about you. You are you, and you're supposed to accept yourself the way you are, because you are you, and nobody can change you apart from your perception in the mind. And if you start now thinking positively about yourself and having that positive mental picture, you will now acting in your thoughts, and you will end up being a conqueror. Then we've got positive compliment. Always when you are complimented positively, maybe let us say that you've achieved that smaller, maybe you've achieved the smaller goals that you've set, and then it happens that someone comes to tell you congratulations, you've done your best, and this how it's supposed to be. It motivates someone, it steered up someone, and it pushes you to the next level of self-esteem. We've got success or the achievement. If you achieve, and if you persist in achieving some little goals and they pile up to become the bigger now achievement, it will steer up your self-esteem. How to boost self-esteem? This key. You're supposed to be attentive at this point. How to boost self-esteem? We've got some people who have got low self-esteem, but they have not realized that they have got low self-esteem. One, celebrating the achievement. You have to celebrate any achievement that comes across your life, however much smaller it might be or bigger it might be. You have to celebrate, even if it is to take a cup of tea and then initially you were not in a position to take. It is an achievement. You're supposed to celebrate yourself for any achievement that you make, recognizing one's weakness and finding a way to improve it. So you have to recognize yourself and recognize your weakness, and you look for the possible way out of it so that you can build up and develop that good self-esteem. We've got avoiding harsh self-criticism. You are not supposed to sit back alone and then start criticizing yourself. That's dangerous. You are like killing yourself. Remember that our brain is like the central processing unit of the computer. This is where the decisions are made and are processed. So you are not supposed to allow your mind to think to that limit of criticizing yourself, but instead have that positive mental picture and accepting yourself. Then another thing, using failures as learning or starting points. You are not supposed to regard failures as the downfall or the things that breaks you, but you're supposed to take them as stronghold that will boost you. Then accepting compliment aggressively, then being organized by planning one's life and striving to get what one wants in life. I think remember to subscribe and share it so that you can inspire one.